At this time, I'll call the April 22nd, 2021 meeting to order for the Dickson County Commission. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We only have one item to add to the agenda, and that is in regards to the Chapman Creek RV Park and to access some CDBG funds. And so with that added to the agenda, I would move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
We have the motion, we have the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the April 15th meeting, also fund expenditures of $308,835.40, a wire payment which includes utilities of $9,528.77, and SD security of $3,760, abatements of $2,113.72, and then also added tax, and that's $1,360.78.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have the motion and the second for acceptance of the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll go to commission comments. Ron?
Spent a little bit of time yesterday at the Detention Center in Junction City. Everything's going well. The place is being operated well, and we're looking forward to having a successful year.
Okay.
Did they indicate budget-wise what they were looking at for next year? Do you know?
No indication there. There was some capital improvements that slightly hurt their financial statement as far as assets, but other than that, nothing.
Okay. Craig?
Yeah, I mentioned in the work session, I did get a couple of the Kansas, Nebraska Heritage Act forms back signed by I got 3 of them back. I'll try to bring them in. I forgot to bring them this morning, Lynn.
Okay. And I also had received some of those in the mail. I've had a few people stop by and visit with me and have received some phone calls. And so I know it's a high level of interest for our rural community on that. And we also were going to try to gather some information, see if KAC had information they're going to give us, which was the Kansas Association of Counties. But that's something that there's been a request that we take some action on that, and probably sometime in the month of May, we'll go ahead and bring that as a formal item for discussion. And I also had received copies. David Mills had sent me a few copies on that particular one where some other counties have taken action, Clay County, Russell County, and I believe maybe Ottawa County. But so we'll follow up on that. Earlier this morning, Derek Norick was with us. He is the department head for environmental services, gave us an update on some of the things that are taking place. And they're very busy because it is a springtime and that time of year that people are maybe bringing more brush and spring cleaning and items out to the landfill. And we had also discussed, maybe he said he may talk to the newspaper and just see if he can get some informational things out to encourage people to transport things out there safely and covered, but also just to make sure people know some of the services that are available. That's all I had. Is there anything else that anyone has thought of or would want to bring up?
I forgot to mention there wasn't anything on the computer, Lynn.
Okay. So no comments on the computer. Okay. Okay. At this time, we'll move on. There are no petitions or proclamations to consider. This would be the time that we would have public comment. If someone would want to make a comment, this would be opportunity to bring that up. And of course, as we've done before, you would need to go ahead and introduce yourself, give your address and what your concern was, and a limit of 5 minutes on that. And I see there's some comments. Rhonda Bupre has just mentioned, is there anything that you commissioners can do to reassure the school board that the quarantines are no longer necessary? Says that there's some blamings that the county quarantine rules for their continued mask requirement at the schools. And on that, we've kind of left things in the hands of the school boards. And so any mask requirement they would have, and actually the same thing applies for businesses. If it's optional, they can give consideration to what type of enforcement. Brad, do you have anything to add to that, or is that?
Well, just in regards to the quarantine, we do have a modified quarantine order in place that the schools are following that needs to remain in place. Contrary to what some may believe, that if a person is exposed to a positive case, they do need to quarantine. Now we've modified that to some degree to work with the schools that, and essentially in simplest form, if the student was exposed to someone that is a known positive case and they were wearing a mask, they do not have to leave school in quarantine. And so that's why the mask is, and that's a choice as far as the mask requirement of the school board. But being on the school board, I can tell you that I supported that as well, because we want to keep kids in the classroom. And so I also reiterate that when I think I told you a few months ago, or not, maybe not quite that long, but when I asked the question of all 5 school nurses, and when I asked the question of our school staff at our school board meeting, if there were problems with the kids wearing masks, both times I get answer was no. Kids do not have problems wearing masks. It's adults that have the problem with the kids wearing masks. So I don't personally feel that it's detrimental to them. I do think there's value in having them in a mask so that if they are exposed, they don't have to. For example, if someone is exposed this weekend in one of the schools having their prom this weekend, that student would be quarantined from going to prom if they weren't wearing a mask. The fact they're wearing a mask guarantees that they can participate in those things. And so I think there's a tremendous amount of value in them wearing that mask. I think that's good guidance that all 5 school boards have chosen to uphold. And at least until the end of this school year, next school year will be a different story. And hopefully we'll be totally beyond all this. But that's the reasoning behind it. So there is a little county influence there coming from the fact that we have modified that original quarantine order that was done and came down from CDC and the state to work with the schools. So.
And in the work-study session earlier too, Brad had mentioned that we have not experienced an increase in cases. There still is perhaps 1 a day, but it's not at a level where things need to change. It's at actually kind of a plateau that's been a good thing. So there was one other comment on there, I think, in regards to the Eisenhower Library reopening, and we do not have any additional information on that. Okay. I don't believe there are any other public comments, and we're going to go ahead and move on to our report of county officers. Doug Thompson is not going to be here today and was here earlier. And then so also right now we'll just have our report from Brad Holman.
Okay, so we'll start out with our update from our jail meeting on Monday. Things continue to progress on both phases very well. Start out with phase 1, which is the jail project. Painters continue to work in the booking area and in the medical suite to get the primer coats and the coats of paint on there. Fire sprinklers, as we mentioned when Derek was in, the sprinkler, Bamford sprinkler is in finishing the sprinkler installation in the booking area in the medical suite as well. Electricians are installing conduit, pulling wire. We will have the Poly Jail Company, their representatives will be here Monday. They'll do the access control and the programming of some of that and installation. Boyd's was supposed to be here yesterday to start saw cutting the curb on the north side of the building and also the area. Did I talk to you about the area that we come up with the fire marshal and the fire department on where to park the fire truck? They'll be here to start working on that on the north side. So, and then the overhead door, the drawings came in for the overhead doors on the Sally Port. Luckily, Tom was on the ball and noticed that they were 1.5 feet wider than the opening is on the drawing, so he rejected those. And I think he's since got them back and getting the orders in for those doors. So, and then just other minor things, but the on the second floor above that, on the stair tower, we have a door access that goes out onto the roof. So we no longer have to crawl up a ladder to get out on the courthouse roof. Well, that was overlooked by the masons and they didn't put that door in. So it had to be cut in and the door frame put back in. They've since got that cut in and working on that. So we thought that was a little peculiar as I drove by. I thought, there's supposed to be a door up there to get the So luckily, that's just one of the, minor oversight. So as far as phase 2, which is a renovation on the courthouse, as of Monday, they said it was about 2/3 of the way done. As far as the demolition goes, and that meant they had the upper floor demoed, the basement was demoed, and they were starting on the main floor, which in the work session, we noted that they're taking windows out and things are moving along there very, very rapidly. The window demos have been taking place throughout this week. I know the window vendor was supposed to be here Tuesday to measure those openings and start ordering window stuff. Framers were mostly done doing the new walls and stuff on the second floor. There are a few masonry walls that need to go in, and they were scheduled to get started on their portion this week. And then the original ceilings in the hallway above the staircases still need to be removed. They were going to get that done. So, but things are progressing very well. They're in on our old offices now and in the old sheriff's department doing demolition in those areas. That was the last area that they hadn't been able to get to yet. And so they were cutting away and tearing things out in those areas yesterday when I stepped over there. So, but things are continuing to progress as expected. So. We are obtaining some bids for a new copy machine in the 911 center. The copier there was purchased in 2010 or 11. And so we've got about 10 or 11 years out of it and it's in need of being replaced. It's not all that expensive of a machine because it doesn't do a lot of stuff that it doesn't have the requirement of our other offices, but Russ was getting bids for that and hopefully we can get that done and purchased. Martin had scheduled a tube replacement in a 2400 block of Fair, and they were going to start on that Monday. I got a call yesterday from one of the farmers in that area that said that's going to be problematic because we're still closed on the north end of Fair. I can no longer get out with my semis without going clear west and around to Solomon to get to Abilene. And so I talked to Martin. They're going to put that on hold. We're going to wait to do those tubes until after we get the bridge opened up in the 2700 block. And so if anybody asks about that, that's why. So we are still waiting on federal guidance in regards to the rescue funds. I had mentioned, I think Lynn might have been out in the hallway. I did get an email a few minutes ago from the state that said that there's a webinar or a phone conversation, it came from NACO, about the federal guidance and some more information on that this afternoon. So Janelle and I will sit in on that and see what more information we can get. And then we talked in the work session a little bit about health services. We are in the process of getting those kicked back off. John said yesterday that we're scheduling foot care and and some of the things that we did normally that were suspended due to COVID. And so we've reached out to the senior centers in the county where those events are held and getting those things scheduled. So the vaccination clinic that we normally hold up at the Home Automotive West building, the old Green Fort building, we have suspended utilizing that building effective yesterday. And the vaccinations that are going on now are going on here in the health department. We only had 18 as of yesterday of those vaccination scheduled. So we've gone from doing 300 in a day down to less than 20. So that tells me that our demand is minimal. We'll continue to do what we can or what we need, but we'll be doing them here. So, and then the other thing I wanted to mention was I'd received a request from the Harrington City Manager to help maintain the roads out around the Harrington Lake that are owned by the city of Harrington. They've got a couple small segments on Sand Lane and Sun Lane that are owned by the city. Part of that's asphalt, part of it's gravel. They don't have a blade to be able to blade the gravel roads. The city doesn't, and nor do they have they're very short on manpower right now because of loss of some employees. Apparently, they don't have the time to go out and do the asphalt patching the potholes. And so what Martin came up with this morning was that we would charge them $110 an hour to go out and blade, which is basically what our vendors charge us. And he'd send a crew out and spend an afternoon patching some potholes and doing some Dura patching, and we'd bill them for the materials on that to take care of that. I did get a response back from the city manager a few minutes ago. He said, that's great. That would be awesome if we could help them out a little bit. So we'll be doing that for them here between now and when the guys start doing their paving. And so if you hear of somebody commenting that a county crew's down there working on a Harrington property, that's what it is. We're doing some mutual aid to them, if you will, to help them out here before we actually get busy with our overland paving. So, but I think that's all I've got for right now.
Okay.
Lynn, I would take this opportunity. I know I mentioned before, I don't know what we can do. I'd like to, if we could do some kind of proclamation to thank Tim and Brenda Holmes for the use of their building. I think it'd be appropriate to do. I know they probably can't be here or anything, but like I said, I've said it before, but
Okay.
really, I know Ron and I were up at the same time, it was easy getting in and out of, enough space, stuff, so.
Okay. I think, Brad, you could add that to the agenda maybe in the next week. And whether it's a letter of thanking them or an official proclamation, just whatever is appropriate, then we could release something to the newspaper also and sign it.
Yeah, and we did, I think I mentioned to you a while back, we did receive a couple of different grants from the state to help pay for expenses to manage the COVID situation. John and I talked about paying Tim Holm making a payment to him. He has asked for nothing. He didn't want anything, but I think as much as we've used it, as well as it worked out, he's still paying utilities. He's still paying, a heating bill when we're in there that wouldn't have to be as much if it was turned down. And then he had a water break in the middle of things. When we had that cold snap water line that broke, that he paid somebody to clean that up and repair it expeditiously so we could get in the next day and do that. So
Okay.
I'm thinking we are going to pay him something for that as well. And we could do that at the same time.
Okay.
So, but it has worked out. I have absolutely heard nothing but positive comments about how well it worked out and how well the staff did up there. So it was, it couldn't have worked out better if we built a building for it. It was just
The accessibility of the building.
just ideal.
Could
Yeah.
park and they could walk right in and there were not steps involved and people were knowledgeable of the location once it was described to them. So I think that'd be good to do. Okay. Doug, I had already mentioned that you were going to be in court, probably not here, but since you're here, do you have anything to provide us or tell us?
No, I don't, not at this time, but thank you.
Okay. And, Doug is very helpful as a county counselor. He does make himself available, and that's the thing is sometimes something unexpected or unforeseen comes up. And for Brad, he's only a phone call away and can impart some legal advice that's helpful to us or give us some legal interpretation or direction. And so we appreciate what you do and that you're available. Really just a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Notices and communications, we only have a few things. We did get a notice, and this was from John Nachman, who is chairman of the Dixon County Republican Party, to just advise us that we were invited to attend an annual Dixon County Republican Party and Dixon County Republican Women's Guest Night. And while as a commission we're nonpartisan, we do also typically someone, when they run for office, they either run as a Republican or a Democrat or an independent and or such. And so anyway, he just wanted to make this available to us so we're aware of it and have the invitation to attend. We also received a note from the county in regards to on some of the pay scale and how that is done per hour. And that's something that we can review and continue to review. And I think that's all I had. There was a pamphlet from North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging that we received also, and it gives some of the items that are available from long care service, health support for health for family caregivers, and friendship meals and so on. So this was a pamphlet we received. Is there anything else that anyone would want to bring up or any item of communication they received?
I don't have any, Lynn.
Having none, we'll go ahead on, there's no resolutions to consider. There's no unfinished business. We did, under other business, add one item to the agenda, and that was in regards to the Chapman Creek RV Park. And so Brad, would you want to give us a summary of that?
Yes, this is the last distribution of COVID funding to local businesses that we have in our CDBG-CV for COVID grant money that we received. As you recall, we granted $130,000 from Kansas Department of Commerce, and that money has been distributed out to local businesses. We thought it was all distributed, and then there was one business in Harrington that was only eligible for a portion of what they received. And so we had a little over $16,000 remaining. So they went to the next viable applicant, which happened to be the Chapman Creek RV Park. And they were eligible to receive, and in this order would receive $16,234 in the grant funds. With that allocation, that takes care of all the funding that we had in that grant. So
Okay.
this is actually the approval of that. So I think you just have signature for the chairman.
So that is a qualifying business for this particular grant. And so we need to officially approve the request of the Chapman Creek RV Park for the CDBG.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Got the motion and the second, and as Brad mentioned, the amount $16,234. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do not have any other business. If there's nothing else to come before us, we can have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll give the second. We have the motion and the second to adjourn. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.